believe it. I don't believe it. Toby, I don't believe it.
Welcome to Pound for Pound ATL, arguably the best place to get facts and opinions on your Atlanta Falcons. And absolutely the best place to get your opinions in. The guys are here, the chat is ready, and the conversation starts now.
What's going on, football fans? You're watching Pound for Pound ATL Live, Scout Team Edition. I am joined, as always, by my main man, Toby D. Also joined tonight by Jimbo. What's going on, Jimbo? How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good, boy. It's your boy Jimbo Dean, aka Jimbo Slice, aka Jimmy Obama. Call me anyone you want, but please do not call me no damn New Orleans Saints fan. What's up, Toby? I ain't said that in a while, man.
Hey, man, I'm still high and celebrating the dub until Sunday, of course, at 1 o'clock when we got to face off against them WFT guys up over there when they come here to the Dome. But, hey, what's going on, JR, man?
How man, I'm feeling pretty good. We wrapping up the old vacation down here. As you can tell behind me, still not the normal setup. Hopefully everybody can hear me pretty good. I'm using a Bluetooth mic today. I did that show holding the mic, and whew, that was a little little much. But no, it was good. No, man, everything's going pretty good. I finally got to sit down a little bit this week and start to look at our upcoming opponent, the WFT. I swear every time I see that, I think WTF. Catches me off guard. I wish they would just go ahead and name themselves like the Red Wolves or something. This. I swear, this has nothing to do with the team play itself, but I thought to myself, like, there's no way they're going to go into this season without an actual name. Boy, I was wrong. But hey, it's all right. It's okay. That's them. That ain't me. But anyway, I finally got to sit down and watch some of that team play, and we're in for another tall task, or not we, but our offensive line is in for another tall task with facing that defensive line. Like, you're talking about the likes of Chase Young, you're talking about Daron Pyane, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, Matt Leonidas. I mean, that's a strong defensive front that is being coached, by Ron Rivera. Like, that's what he likes. You remember that from his days in Carolina. He cared more about his defensive line than pretty much anything else. He has some real good linebackers. Obviously, I don't think he has linebackers to the extent that he did in Carolina. But like I said, we saw Jalen Mayfield go from a 30-something PFF score to a respectable 70-something PFF score. So we're hoping for continued growth. Now, we did get some quote-unquote reinforcements. Josh Andrews is... Now, has he been officially designated? Because didn't they have to make a move? Because this is the part where me being on vacation right now, I'm not able to lock in like I normally do. Have they designated Josh Andrews and Kendall Sheffield to come off of IR yet? Do either one of y'all know?
I think they said they have 21 days to kind of work those guys back in. So I don't see them rushing them guys back anytime before that. If they do come back, I can see them coming back after the bye legitimately. Both guys being ready to go, getting reacclimated and getting their strength and conditioning back up because, Sheffield has missed quite some time since OTAs. So I don't see them guys coming back here before the bye week.
That's what I was thinking too. And you would figure that they have to make a corresponding move to fully activate them. So, if it's like somebody brought up on Twitter that they wonder if like a John Kaminsky, if he continues to be a healthy scratch, if he's a guy that gets let go of to make room for a Sheffield or Andrews. And that would be interesting to see if they try to like let him go and bring him back on the practice squad kind of deal.
Yeah.
But initially, but let's get back to the game. Like as y'all saw, like on the thumbnail that I have up there today, like the matchups that I'm looking at really is, Caleb McGarry versus, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, whoever lines up on him. Because right now, he hasn't necessarily produced so far this season like we were hoping he was going to. As far as his production, we were hoping, coming into that year 3 that he was going to take that step forward. And so far, he hasn't necessarily taken that step forward. So it's going to be interesting to see how he responds to going up against those, Chase Young has got that great mix of speed and power. And, those type of guys are the ones who've really given McGarry issues.
Oh, yeah.
So initially that's one of my like key matchups. And then my other key matchup is it looks like we're going to have AJ Terrell back this week. Right, exactly that.
Boy.
I think they did the defense did really well minus him last week, but I ain't trying to do that too many weeks in a row. So the fact that he looks like he's a full go is very encouraging because they have a budding star on that Washington team, and Terry McLaurin, is that how you say his last name? McLaurin?
Yep.
And it also sounds like they are expected Curtis Samuel to make his debut this season. So that adds another weapon. But to start there, like Jim, I'm curious to think, like what is your thoughts of McGarry? Oh man, my brain is just. Y'all have to forgive me, folks. My brain is just like locked up. Anyway, AJ Terrell coming back. How much of a boon is that for our secondary?
But when I seen this game coming off of last week, and AJ wasn't there, I was praying after that guy. I was praying and hoping, I like, please be back for the Washington football team because of Terry McLaurin. And I was like, okay. And I was looking for Samuel, and I ain't seeing. But he would make this game be the game that he want to come back and try to get his foot into the dough and get started going, And he's kind of that Swiss Army knife. I kind of put out a tweet that it'll be pretty good to see Isaiah Oliver getting a little piece of him in that slot or in that nickel sometime and taking care of that little short game. They're going to try to, get him the ball early and really short, try to see what he can do after the catch because he's really good after the catch. And I'm gonna put it like I'm just really happy to see AJ Terrell back so he can get back on his run towards that Pro Bowl but also to stop Terry McLaurin because the guy that receiver, that guy's real gifted. Now in week 3, he had 7 targets, which telling you they really getting him. They trying to get him the ball as much as they can, and which is a safety net for Heineke, who they got over there. So bringing Samuel back in the mix and having Terry, I'm glad AJ Terrell is back, and thank you because we gonna need him.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Toby, any initial thoughts on that particular subject?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna tell you, I like Taylor. I like Taylor, man. He's a fiery competitor. You can see it. That's the first thing to me when I'm watching him. He's fiery off tape. But I think where the Falcons could get a gain up on him, one, he's short. So he has to take extra steps back in order to be able to see over his offensive line to get the ball out. But when he does get it out, he hits his targets. No problem. He will hit his target. And he's a guy, man, you got to be careful of to watch him down there in the end zone because he will like to take one in and score with it on the rushing TD. I don't think he's going to be much of a force to worry about in the run game because that's not really what he wants to do. He does it when he needs to do it. If he needs to extend some plays. But this is going to be very interesting for the Atlanta Falcons defense to continue to improve with this guy. And we may potentially see a lot more batted passes down on Taylor Heineke to try to take advantage of his small size. You know, he's only like 6'1", 210. So I can see a lot more batted passes down with, you know, Michael Walker and the defensive line really getting back there and penetrating. Now, it's going to be tough because that offensive line they got, man, I think PFF has those guys, all of them ranked in about the top 20.
Oh, yeah.
So you know, so that's going to be very interesting to see how the D-line attacks with Dean Pease coming out here and calling the defense against their O-line. But I think this is a pretty good game as we get ready to get into, you know, what we want to see from the Atlanta Falcons and the advantages they may have against this team that it may work in the Falcons' favor. JR, you and I talked about that before we got on. It might potentially work in the Falcons' favor with what we like to do on offense already going in. But what else are you seeing?
Well, okay. What you know, you bring up a good point there as far as like how I was watching that Buffalo game, and you know that's always like the first place I stop as I watch the last game they played, right? And with it being 3 games in, same thing with us. You know, some of the tendencies are starting to pop up, offensively and defensively. Offensively, they look like they want to do a lot of the same things that we're doing, in the sense of a short to intermediate game. Now, that can have a lot to do with they were planning on going into the season with Fitzpatrick and have had to, you know, obviously he went down with a hip injury, I believe it was, to Fitzpatrick. And so you bring in Tyler Heineke, who, with that defense, gave the Bucs a run for their money last year. So, but I will say this though, I don't know if they just haven't rounded into form yet or what the deal is. Maybe they were playing above their station last year, but that defense doesn't look like the same defense that they had playing last year. At least not through 3 games. Now, this could be the quote unquote game that they try to, you know, like a get right game. You know, which we don't want them to have. We don't want them to have a get-right game. But, you know, there's already, like, comments, you know, coming out about, you know, Jack Del Rio's, like his comments on, like, they feel like the defense is going to, you know, get into it this week and yada, yada, yada. And, you know what, if I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm feeling about that same way. You know, looking at what our offensive line has produced as of, you know, so far, I'm looking at this as a game that we could, you know, my defensive line could potentially get right, you know. But I think that the way New York attacked them, the way Buffalo attacked them, like, it sets up in the same way that we want to attack and the way that we have been attacking through 3 games ourselves. So I really hope that this is another game yet, another confidence builder, that we carry that fourth quarter winning drive from New York into this game and, continue to build on it, because you kind of started to see, Matt Ryan. I don't think it's ever really been necessarily about trusting Kyle Pitts as it has been about trusting the O-line and trusting the scheme, so to speak. Because, this is the first year that he's played with Cordell Patterson, and he ain't got no problem throwing it to him. This is the first year he's played with Mike Davis. He ain't got no problem dumping it off to him. Last year was the first year he played with Hayden Hurst. He didn't have no problems racking up 700-something yards and 6+ touchdowns with him. So I think that might be a thing that might be a little overblown with Matt Ryan. I think it's more of, does he trust the offensive line? Does he trust, what the scheme is actually calling, right? And I think you started to see that in that fourth quarter against the Giants. So, maybe this can be also a coming out party for a Kyle Pitts and a Hayden Hurst. Because you're going into another game without Russell Gage, which I'm going to go ahead and call it, fellas. This is exactly what we talked about with Russell Gage being the number 2 wide receiver, is can he stay healthy, right? And we're already now week 4, and he's done missed 2 games. So does this open up the door for a Christian Blake and a Lamazé Zaccheaus, a Frank Darby? Like we talked, we talked about, a more big body receiver, how we could use that on this team right now. Because as much as we love Slide Ride, like he ain't trying to fight for extra yardage, and he ain't trying to go across the middle and get tattooed. That ain't his game. Like I figured out, like I'm some kind of genius. It come to my mind that Ridley is so good at running routes, maybe because he don't want to get hit. You know what I'm saying? Like, look,
You don't want to get touched, baby.
You can't touch me. You know what I'm saying? If I'm so clean and so crisp that you can't keep up with my breaks, that means you can't hit me. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, running backwards is, I don't care how I gotta run from you. I'll run backwards if I got to. Just don't touch me.
So I ain't saying that that's what it is, but it's something that came in my mind. Like, look, I'll tell you flat out. I'll tell anybody this. I got way too high of a self-preservation gene to play a contact sport. Okay, that's why I'm on this side of the computer. That's why I'm not over here trying to tackle nobody, right? And so maybe Slide Ride's got a little bit of that self-preservation gene himself.
Like my high school head coach used to tell me, JR, you got $400 worth of equipment on. You could run into somebody.
Go run into somebody.
You got $400
I'm just saying.
on. I don't want to
I'm just saying. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing.
I see what you're saying. I see, and we see the same
thing. Like you look at you look up there at Tennessee. You had Corey Davis and AJ Brown, big body guys who didn't mind going up and getting it, didn't mind getting up in the mix of it.
Wanted that. They wanted that contact.
Look, can Rid be our number 1? Yeah, he is our number 1, and yes, he can be. He just needs somebody else to do the dirty work. That's all there is to it. Which could be, a Hurst and a Pitts once Ryan really gets comfortable in this scheme, comfortable with this, once this offensive line keeps gelling, and, hopefully they take another step forward this week. But as far as our defense attacking their offense, the weapons are not they're on par with the Giants' weapons. Like McLaurin is a good wide receiver. He's good in space.
Yep.
We're gonna have to, be on our game there. I think by looking at the injury report, they don't have. Gibson is questionable. Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
Now he scored on a real long screen pass, like a 70-something yarder. That was one of one of
Yeah.
their scores. So if Gibson can't go, that's going. I think that puts our old third string running back, third, fourth, like practice squad guy, J.D. McKissick. Y'all remember
McKissick, yeah.
McKissick?
Yeah.
Well, he's their backup
Yes,
running
sir.
back.
That was one out.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he's their backup running back. So if Gibson can't go, that puts McKissick as RB1, and that will be
Hmm.
beneficial to us because Gibson's a good runner, and he's a good all around runner. So
Yeah. So they essentially got three of the same type of
mm-hmm.
players. Antonio Gibson, Curtis Samuel, who is coming back, and they have J.D. McKissick. So all three of them guys do the same stuff. Curtis Samuel, before he left Carolina, they were using him as running back and a receiver.
Correct.
Yep.
And I don't see that position changing because apparently the coordinator likes that type of guy and that type of matchup versus defenses. He feel like that's something he can really get a good strength off of. So going into this game, so one of them guys, they're going to be looking to get explosive on the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I like our linebackers against this group. I think about what Michael Walker did against Myles Gaskin. Myles Gaskin was running a wheel route, and Michael Walker covered it. Excellent. Did not give him any kind of room. Used the boundary as his extra defender to basically knock Myles Gaskin out without him even being able to have an opportunity to touch the ball in that preseason game. So they've gotten kind of what they need as far as those looks against those types of running backs that they're going to see here. Now, Antonio Gibson a little bigger. Don't get me wrong. He's a little more stronger. He's a faster guy that they're going to have to deal with if he's able to play, which I think he will be because they want to get all their weapons out there. But you mentioned something, JR, talking about their defense. And when I watched the film, two things I noticed that is hurting the defense of Washington right now. They are men amongst boys, no doubt about it with them guys. So I'm noticing is, number one, which I think the Falcons will have an advantage. Not a team Washington wants to see right now.
Mm-hmm.
Teams are playing a lot more heavier base packages versus their defense. They're getting a lot bigger up front, whether it's 12 personnel, 21 personnel. Falcons play a lot of 22 in that week one against a 4-3 defense in Philadelphia Eagles. And now you're about to see that again. I can only imagine how much more 22, because we didn't see it in these last two games. They're going to play in this one versus that front defense. Number two is the fact that they quick passes are made on them. And what's happening is that secondary, they play a lot of man coverage. They play a lot of man coverage. And that's what they're expected to do. But they don't have tight enough coverage in order to stop the passes from leaking out and allowing the third downs to be converted. I mean, you're looking at 27 of 46 third down conversions on that Washington defense. That is not good, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that bodes well for the Atlanta Falcons going into Sunday.
I think so. First, on a complete another side note, what's going on, Mike Dub? I'm glad to see you.
What's up, Mike?
Happy Friday, family. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean? I'm late, but listen,
hey, better late than never.
Going on right now, man. So,
that's right.
Hey, all I know, we just got to keep the winning momentum going, man.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is a winnable game, right? So, if we focus on us and not necessarily worry as much about what the Redskins, Washington football team's plan of attack is, then I think we'll be in good shape.
Yeah, no, I feel you there completely on that. I think we just definitely need to keep the momentum going. But I think this is a good time to cut off our opening salvo, and we'll jump into chat here for a minute.
That's him.
Big Truck Trap Star says, good win, nice progress. Matt is still playing scared. I agree with that. That's something he needs to get tightened up. He says, but we can make a major push. I think so. These are some winnable games coming up, and I think all they got to do is just, keep it going.
That's it.
Fred Butts is in the building, says Dean Pease ain't playing, and I love it. We're going to get into that in a minute because that definitely had the internet ablaze yesterday. Dexter Valley says, rise up. We ain't rising up no more, Dexter. Don't you know we are dirty birds, sir? I'm just kidding. Keep rising, man. Chris James says, good evening all. What's going on, Chris? Same thing with Woon Carter. He says, rise up, Pound for Pound family. It's good to be here on this exclusive Friday night. Let's get a win against Washington. That's right. Same thing with Kojak Nantucket. What's going on, Kojak?
Jack.
I'm glad you up in here. Tony Wright's in the building. He says, what's popping P for P? What's going on, Tony? He says, we need Caleb McGarry to be Caleb McGarry that beat up Cameron Jordan in 2019. Was held without a sack and only had a half a tackle. Yeah, that Caleb McGarry, he showed up that one time. But we need him to come back, that's for sure. Ghost Pepper is in the building. What's going on, Ghost? Glad you're here with us tonight. Let's see. The Real says, throw the ball to Zacchaeus deep once or twice a game. That's something else we're going to get into that has me somewhat concerned. But yeah, we're going to get into that. He also adds it up. I like Darby also, and Tajay Sharp is a big target. Yeah, I guess I just need to get Tajay to get more involved, because a lot of times I forget he's on the roster. So I need him to step it up in that aspect. Mr. CDX for Life says, rise up. P for PATL. What's up, buddy? Dre Jungle says, this reminds me of 2016 with Julio and Hankerson. LOL. That was in 2015. Anyway.
Hankerson.
Yeah, Leonard. You remember Leonard Hankerson? Like he can't. Like he has stone for hands. Anyway, so no run game and Matt learning the plays. That's that's kind of what it feels like. He also adds, I need Hurst to be more involved, unless coaches are saving him for the late stretch. Well, coaches ain't got no business saving nobody right now. Like they need to get everybody going. Let's see. Ghost Pepper says, agrees, JR. Oh man, okay, nice. He agreed with me. He said Ryan always gets better in time with the new offense. Certainly, offense as a whole will do the same. Yeah, it's just the question is he going to get better while we're still in contention? Or are we going to finally see that step forward when we're so far in a hole dug that it don't matter, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Chris Amos says that believe sign is on the wall. The believe sign on the wall is heading to the garage. Yeah, that was comical. But I will say this. Like, when I first saw that pop up, I was like, oh, God, here we go with the cliche stuff. But thankfully enough, that was there for just one little, like, ha, ha, ha. Like it's that self-realization. Like nobody's fooled thinking that they're, unbeatable right now. So, I was glad to see that only lasted for one press conference. Let's see. Genuine Music says, sup, fellas? Let's talk about how Matt been neglecting Hurst, trying to force feed Pitts in the red zone. Well, I ain't seen that. How many targets has Pitts had in the red zone? Because I know he ain't got no touchdowns. So
I ain't seen that.
You got me on that one, Junior. Willie Butler says, do you guys think Lee Smith will play a big role in chip blocks against Chase Young? Yes, I do.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think Lee Smith, until this coaching staff truly believes that this offensive line can hold its own, Lee Smith is going to be a permanent part of that 12 personnel package.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it like that. I was really hoping that 12 was going to be, Pitts and Hurst carving people up. But until this offensive line can show that it can hold more than a cup of water, Lee Smith is going to be out there for a while. All right, last comment says, James Williams says, what's up, guys? Happy Friday. What do you think about this defense? I feel like they will gel to a top 10 defense by the end of the season. That's high hopes. And he says, will Darby finally suit up this week? I think you might see Darby this week, especially with Gage being down. Now, how active is he going to be? That still remains to be seen. I guess that's like, what does the game dictate, But I think he'll be active.
You know what, though? One thing on Darby, though. I think the thing I know about Darby is that he's probably the biggest unknown of all our other receivers, which I can't say is a bad thing, right? We kind of know what we're getting with the other guys, right?
Right.
Tajay Sharp, pretty much know what you're getting with that guy. Zacchaeus, kind of, you know what you're going to do with that guy. So Darby might be a guy that, we could put him out there and see what he, that's what we drafted him for. Because I think that he's shown the ability to get deep. So I mean, let's just see what the Rook can do it. Just
Why
beat
not?
out of them.
No doubt on that. I agree completely on there's no sense and at this point we shouldn't be holding any punches back.
Right.
Like we shouldn't be holding anything for down the stretch or the stretch is now. You have an undefeated Carolina in your division and
Come on now.
2-1 and a 2-1 in your division.
Mm-hmm.
So like the easiest way to the playoffs is to win your division. And
Absolutely.
right now you've already, kind of dug a little bit of a hole. And you're already 0-1 in your division. So
Right.
now's not the time to be holding anything back.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
No, I definitely look for the Falcons run game to get back on point. And one of the other things that you notice when you're watching, the Washington football team defense get washed out of a lot of outside zone plays.
Mm-hmm.
They reveal themselves too quickly when they're trying to come into the hole. Now it helps that offensive line be able to tag whoever it is trying to come in and stop them. And they ran some of them same backside runs that we ran against Philadelphia Eagles. The Chargers did against them with Alec. What's his name? The running back Heckler.
Austin Eckler.
He was able to run some of them similar backside runs on that defense in that first game when they played against them. And we excelled on that against the Philadelphia Eagles in that first half, running them backside runs with Cordell Patterson and Mike Davis. So I'm looking for that run game to be back strong this week against that Washington front.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed while watching Washington, and I wonder if any of y'all noticed this as well, they got a very, and you pointed out they're, inexperienced in the sense of how young they are, but they also have a very aggressive defensive front. And that's all the way across the front. All these guys, the Leonidases, the, Daron Paynes and Chase Youngs and all them, they're used to being the guy that headhunts the quarterback. And when you have a full penetrating line, you can kind of start to use that against them.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So I look to, this might be a game where we get some, actually get some screenplays going that aren't just flowing into the teeth of the defense. Try to use some of that aggression against them. Tony Wright says Washington has a former first rounder and free agent signee William Jackson as one of their corners, but I do believe that Calvin Ridley will have a big game this week. Yeah, their secondary is it's not like a star-studded secondary. It feels like a lot like ours, solid but not spectacular, right?
That's it.
So, if, I feel like this is a broken record of this joint, but if Matt Ryan can get some time, if this offensive line continues to take a step forward, if Mayfield, continues to be comfortable enough to show his progress, which he has done these first 3 weeks, to where maybe Jake Matthews can get back to, worrying about just his side type deal. Then maybe this is a week where Ridley does start to go off some.
Yeah, I hope so.
I'll go a little bit of an oddball, right? Because I think that this might be a week where we see Mike Pennell or Anthony Rush. And I'll tell you why. So I kind of took a gander at the injury report today. Antonio Gibson did not practice again today. So he hadn't practiced the last 2 games. So there's a relatively good chance that he may not be in the game. I do think that one of these guys that we picked up that's on the practice squad, it'd be really good to see one of those guys get a couple snaps this week, because if the defensive line can set, it sounds weird saying this, but if our defensive line can set the tone, we can make Washington relatively one-dimensional. So I think that's an area where, it is interesting to see how they play that with with Antonio Gibson being out. So, just those little small matchups to watch.
No, exactly. You're 100% right there. We spoke on that earlier. I believe if Gibson does go down, I believe J.D. McKissick, our old practice squad return guy, who has made a nice little role for himself as a backup running back.
Yeah.
He might be RB1, and I would like to see, this would be a game to potentially get a Michael Walker some more snaps, some Ogundeji some more snaps.
Yeah, boy.
So
I want Ogundeji to get some snaps. I want him to get some snaps bad. They need to call and ask me because there's somebody over there. I ain't gonna say his name. Y'all know who he is, but he's holding this young man back. And I really wish they would stop bringing his name up. And I don't know how. Can y'all explain to me how and why his name is just lingering around and it just keep coming out of coach's mouth like he's making plays
because he's smart.
Like he know the playbook. Like I'm just not getting. I'm not. The little film that
look. Per his coach, he's smart. But the one thing that I actually caught more out of that interview about, if y'all ain't caught on, about Stephen Means, that I think is keeping him in position is his body type. He is a bigger edge setter, which is what they want on that side. And I think that they do feel like Ogundeji is their future. They're just not ready to throw him in the fire just yet.
Right.
Okay, I see where this going. I see
the same thing. And that's exactly what that article was talking about.
Right.
I'm gonna read it.
I'm sorry, what article? What is the edge setter? It said setting the edge?
No, well, they didn't say setting the edge particularly, but they did talk about him being a bigger body, presence, which the only reason why I could think, why would you want a bigger body out there if it ain't for setting the edge?
I just got nervous. You said edge setter because I hadn't seen any edges get
set. I ain't said.
Hey, stop that now.
No, sorry.
Don't make Dean Pease get
on. Oh Lord, he sounded like somebody's grandpa out there scolding. Talking about the media. Nobody congratulating Arthur Smith on his first win as a head coach. And I was like, dang, he gonna really hit y'all with that.
He attacked fans already. He said, you know what? Last I heard, we couldn't finish games. Crap. It's like, wow. Okay. Well, hey, we've seen a lot of games that haven't been finished, so we are appreciating one game. I'm thankful. That one game that we finished, it was beautiful. Matter of fact, I still can't believe we finished the game last week, but it happened. And look at us this week. So anyway, whew.
Arthur Smith, congratulations on your first win, and the Atlanta Falcons, congratulations on your first win.
Yeah. Thank you, Jimbo. Thank you.
Look, I tell you this. Okay. What that interview came off as, that section of the interview, it felt like Dean Pease thought to himself, I don't care what y'all think. I'm 70-something years old. I'm going to say what everybody else will say because I can get away with saying it.
Right.
And so therefore, he took license and just went off. And I can't say that there wasn't a lot I disagreed on. Because even with him going off, everybody got real caught up in him going off on the media. But even in his going off, he is the only coach so far that has admitted that we ain't where we want to be. Like in a real way. Does that make sense? Not in some like whitewashing way, in some corporate speak way, but in a real way. Like he said, we ain't ready to run that Baltimore stuff. We ain't ready to run that Tennessee stuff. Mm-hmm. And he said that Philadelphia game, that was on me. I put too much on him. So they dialed it back. And he dialed it back some more. Mm-hmm. And guess what? So I would imagine by the end of the season, it's going to probably be a good-looking defense. Because Pease knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't doubt, Pease' ability. It's just, how quick can you get him there?
Right.
Obviously, it ain't through, week 2. You looked a little bit, you looked better in week 3 on the defensive side. Now can you keep it going? Right? You got 2 more games in front of you that don't have a daunting offense that you can keep working on stuff. Perfect. These are perfect games to work in. I would love to see more snaps with Michael Walker. Brandon, I think it was Brandon Levy in the chat says, when we going to see Richie Grant? Well, when Richie Grant gets it down, that's when we'll see him. Apparently.
Yeah.
All I can think about is Richie getting laid out and knocked out the screen. He ain't came back in the screen since then.
No, you're right, you're there. Yeah, I just thought about that. You're right. That old lineman took him out, and he ain't came back yet. Damn, Jimbo.
Just give him some time.
He got screen last.
Yeah.
He got glitched right out the Matrix.
You want the blue pill or the red pill?
Oh no.
Yeah.
But no, straight up and down, like when Peace feels like he's ready, he'll be out there.
Oh yeah.
Because he can't look. Dean Pease can't be excited about what he's seeing from Daron Harmon and Eric Harris, even though I have to say Eric Harris played a better game on Sunday than that was probably his best game.
Yeah.
Right.
I forgot to mention that tonight too.
Nick Bangalow says, don't lose to an American football team with a European football team name. Talking about the Washington football team. It does sound like some Premier League stuff. No,
the Washington football team.
Exactly. I think that there are a lot of things to be encouraged about. Somebody's bringing up, TJ Green. His play for a guy who, like Dean Pease even brought that up in his press conference. A guy that when they first got him, he was a safety.
Mm-hmm.
They converted him to corner, put him in as the second corner because AJ went down, and actually he played pretty well. He wasn't a liability.
Right.
Yep.
And so, that was good to see. Millie Mills says, what do y'all think about Tyler Boyd next year? Oh, okay. I ain't getting into next year. All right, especially, look, we got to get through this year first, okay?
Yeah.
We got to get through this year first. Antonio Starr's talking about trade Matt Ryan for a first-round pick. To who?
No, you ain't getting no first-round pick, Doc.
I mean, to who? Who are you trading him to? Like, serious. The only team right now that needs a quarterback is Washington.
First-round pick.
Hey, listen. Hey, I love y'all in the chat. But y'all with these early draft predictions and all of this stuff, y'all, Doc, let's get through the season first.
That's right.
We still got 14 more games to go.
Just in case they forgot why we're here tonight on a Friday night. We're here to talk about the Washington football team.
That's right.
Our key to beat the Washington football team, who we play on Sunday. You know what we can't control, who we draft, and trust me, we're going to have a lot of shows for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I hope y'all hanging around for, in the off season when we start doing all that because, we going to, it's going to be there and we're going to talk about it. Tony Rice says, it looks like Marlon Davidson will be out and anyone has an update on Kendall Sheffield's status? Sheffield's status is he's still in that, as we talked about earlier, the 22-day period that they have to activate. So he hadn't been activated yet. So right now you're not going to see Sheffield playing anytime soon. Maybe after the bye, possibly. Now, Marlon Davidson, let's get into that for just a minute. I put out a tweet saying, man, I really hope that he ain't going to become one of those players. And what I mean by that is a guy who we never get to see the full potential of because he's always hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part that really worries me about Marlon Davidson is, like, he'll get back from injury, have a game or two, and then he's gone again. Granted, I know this is just his second year, but I really hope that, he can get all these little nagging injuries that are keeping him out. Because somebody said, oh, what are you talking about? Like, he hadn't really been all that injured. He had the COVID stuff last year. Well, he had a knee sprain last year, too, that kept him down. And then, Mike, you even saw it when we were at Mercedes-Benz in the off season, he was wearing a big hefty leg brace then.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and you hate to see it because he's got, one thing about Marlon Davidson is, you're right. If there's any other player that's hurt by a lack of reps, it's Marlon Davidson, right? Because he's one of those guys that he's got all the ability in the world. And I truly, had he not gotten hurt, like he was dominant. I mean, in Auburn, sometimes he had stretches where he was actually better than Derrick Brown. I would say in certain, just certain games, he was the guy that I would say had the higher motor, right? So the ability is there, but again, like every rep that he doesn't take, it definitely hurts him from a confidence standpoint because he is a little bit of a slow starter when he doesn't play, and he plays a little bit heavy when he's hurt too. So yeah, it'd be something to watch, man. But you kind of hate to see it because I really thought he was starting to come on. Got a sack of Tom Brady in week 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like we need him to get back soon. But it doesn't look like whatever the ankle is, doesn't look like it's going to be a lingering thing. But like I said, it'll be something we need to monitor though for sure.
Right. What's up, Jim?
Hey, look here, man. I'm tired. Look here, dog. He's creeping into that Dejan Sanat area. No. He ain't creeping into that. He's in that Dejan Sanat bubble for me already. It's only so far. I kind of did this with Sheffield some time back. Was that last year I did that where I was done with Sheffield?
Right.
And I was like, hold on, Jimbo, hold on, give him some more. But look what he's doing this year. Look what he's doing. Same thing. Now I ain't gonna say I wish. I don't like to see people hurt. If you hurt, you're hurt. If you're injured, you're injured. But it seems like the same recurring thing over and over again. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you getting yourself ready for the game? We got a new strength and conditioning coach. Are you with him? What are you doing to make yourself stay off the list from what you did last year?
Yeah.
Are you taking care of yourself? You're turning into that the new Dejan Sanat. And as of now, right now this season, I could care less if I see a Marlon Davidson and all this potential. And you keep feeding us this hope, feeding us this hype. You're hoping that Marlon Davidson. I'm done, man. Just like I am with Sheffield, and I'm real close with Russell Gage too. I'm almost there with all them three. Them my three right now. I'm about to just say.
You already about to ready to throw Russell Gage in there,
man. Oh yeah, I'm throwing Russell Gage
Nah.
in too. He can't carry that. I'm telling you, you can't. Like I said, I don't want to see people hurt.
No.
But if you're not taking care of yourself and you can't get yourself ready to be there for the team like they asking you to do, which I think is what's going on with these guys that keep having these recurring injuries and in the same position year after year, when they need to be on the field and could be showing us something, and they just can't get right, boss.
Mm-hmm.
And Jimbo is tired.
No, I get it. Like it's that old adage, your best ability is availability. Like straight up. Like I don't care how much of a world destroyer defensive tackle end you are. If you're on the bench or if you're on IR, then you ain't helping me. Straight up. Like, and so if that's the deal, like if he can't figure out the personal responsibility side of it, then we'll see here soon. Because
I think it's more of that.
Because this regime, they ain't tied to hardly anybody on this team. So, and I keep ringing in my ears that one hype video, that one training camp video where Arthur Smith told Gage that you're not a finesse guy no more, you're a physical guy. And we thought that was in like a pump up, like, yeah, you did good, but I wonder if it's a reminder of, dude, come on, I need you out here,
Right.
I need you to bring that physicality.
I mean, right now, there's no clear-cut number 2. And this is why I'm kind of excited about if Frank Darby, who practiced in full this week, can get possibly on the field, because this may be an opportunity that he sees where he might can sneak on up in there.
Right.
So I'm hoping that he'll be active, this week, and see if they can get him on the field.
Toby, I go as far to say that Frank Darby is as complete a receiver as Russell Gage. Because here's the thing. Don't hear me out now. Frank Darby, he's got all the tools, right? Again, like you said, him it's going to be a little bit of confidence, reps, being able to, if the coach can put him in positions to make a couple catches. I just think Frank Darby has a higher upside than Russell Gage just because of, when I'm telling you, when you turn on certain players' tape, man, you see that they can put it all together. And I think, when you come from a program like Arizona State, I think, Herm Edwards coached these guys pretty well. So, and remember, when we went to the stadium, he was one of the first guys that came to the field working by himself, working, doing everything he can to try to. And this is before practice. He was practicing hard before practice, and it just always tells you kind of the player, right? You could he really loves the game, and I'd like to see him get some opportunities. And like I said, sooner than later for sure.
Now look, Antonio Starks in the chat's talking about if the Falcons win more than 4 games this year, I would like to buy all you guys a McDonald's meal. I get where you at there. How about this? If you want to do anything, take whatever you think you want to spend and go donate it to a charity or something. Donate it to somebody that needs it. But I think we're going to get more than 4 wins. Now, I don't know if it's going to come in big chunks. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like this could be the start of, a mini little win streak here. But we may not be at the amount of wins that I initially sold myself in the off season, like mentally in my head. I kind of, once the preseason rolled around, I really recalibrated my expectations for this team. But I do feel like we're going to end up with more than 4 wins myself. Like how much more, I don't know. But I feel like the part that I'm encouraged about all this is that we have improved week to week.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like that's the part, honestly, that has me not sitting up here going, I don't feel like I'm selling y'all a line of BS or a line of bull.
Right.
Like when we came out against Philadelphia, it looked horrible. It looked disjointed. It looked discombobulated. It looked like everything that it wasn't supposed to be. And I said, oh, God. I was like, if this is what this season's going to be, y'all might lose me before it's over with. Then we played the Bucks when I was like, oh, God, this is going to be horrible. And if you looked at just the score, you would be like, oh, yeah, man, that was horrible. But it really wasn't. Right. It wasn't as bad.
No.
Like, I started to see the vision of what we wanted this, or what this team wanted to be, right? You play the Giants on the road. Look, winning on the road in the NFL is not an easy task, especially when you don't have as good of a roster as you thought you might have had, right? So that was a game that I felt like in the same situation last year, we would have yucked it up somehow in the fourth quarter. We didn't. We had a game-winning drive. Now, I don't know if we're going to win this game or not, but I look for the things to get better. Somebody talked about, my one concern as of right now as it stands is the lack of deep shots. And this is something we was talking about in our own, group chat or whatever. I don't need, 10, 15 deep shots a game. I ain't trying to go back to, Dirk Cutter's ways of moving the ball. But if we continue to go so many more games without deep shots, I'm really worried that teams are just going to start sucking up and, and not clogging the box, clogging up the middle of the field, making it harder for, that yards after the catch offense to get going. You need all phases of an offense to make it work. And right now, we're dealing with 2 phases. We're dealing with the run game and a short passing attack. So you've got to get the deep shot in there from time to time to keep defenses honest and to keep those safety from coming down into the box every play. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's something a Frank Darby can be.
Yeah,
and he could. They played against a lot of zone coverage in the first 3 games. You're going to see minimal of that in this game against Washington football team because they play a lot more man than anything, and you can tell. I think you'll have an opportunity to get more shots deep down the field in this game than you would have, but it's going to call for a lot of match. And Lee Smith, you can bet your bottom dollar he's going to be on that right side with Caleb McGarry with Chase Young lurking over there. because they're definitely going to need him to be able to do his thing. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some 13 personnel a little bit more in this game because of that. But I definitely believe that our packages that we roll out there with that 21, 12, and 22 is not really something that the Washington football team wants to see this week, because they've struggled against that in the first 3 games against teams that have built their offenses game plans around doing that to their front and getting the ball out quick on third downs and extending drives. And another thing you notice about this Washington team, they don't extend drives well either. They've been owned in the time of possession in all 3 games. Matter of fact, the Chargers held the longest, 36 minutes and some change in that first game against them. So Falcons definitely want to control the clock. Here's a game where you actually get to lead at the end of the game with doing that the whole way through.
Yeah, I think this is a game where, you know, as we talked about in the early in the offseason, give us 3 or 4 games and we'll really tell you like what we think this team is, what we think this team's going to be. I think this is a time where you're really going to get a chance to try to like get all your pistons firing. You know,
Good game,
you know, with the run game, with the way that we want to try to, you know, to run. This is a type of game that you could, you know, get that stretch outside zone game running. And I feel like this is a game where, you know, you're going to be able to work in the middle of the field. You know, we talk about like Ryan's hesitancy. We talked about it with, I finally got to look at the All-22. It finally showed back up on Game Pass. And, you know, that second play of the game, like you had a stacked combination, or you had a stacked route combination with Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts. He dumps it off to Cordell Patterson, and Patterson gets yardage. Like, you know, I think he gets a first down on the play. But you could have had 25 plus yards had Ryan come up from that play action and just fired it. And that's where he's got to get more comfortable. And another week in this system, like that was the second play of the game. Now go look at the end of the game. They had a similar play, and he fires the ball and hits Pitts. So even in that game, you saw Matt Ryan start to get more comfortable. So now we just, you know, hope that continues to carry on. Now, Ray Station says Frank Darby should be able to help stretch the field more so than Gage. I don't remember the last time I seen Gage catch a deep ball. That's never been Gage's like his comfort zone. You know, he there for a little while turned into a third down receiver last year, and I think he's having a tough time figuring out where he actually fits, you know, in this offense. If Darby comes in and actually has a game, like I could see him start to work his way up, you know, because like you said, Toby, like it's wide open past Calvin Ridley, in my opinion. You know, from especially what we've seen. Let's see. Big Low Country Sports says, "Yo, what's up in the world? What's going on, brother? Glad you're in here tonight."
What's up? Why you coming on up in here, Bob? I appreciate that.
Thiago says, JR, that's what the Saints defense did with the Patriots offense. They knew they wouldn't have a deep threat. And that's what people did to the Saints last year with Breeze on the field. Like, the only time they took deep shots is when you brought in either Jameis or Tyson Hill. So I don't want to get into that. You know, I want all options to be on the table. Let's see here. Tony Wright says NFL all-time passing completions. Yeah, Matt Ryan will more than likely surpass Dan Marino on Sunday. So that's great. I mean, it just adds to his resume. Ghost Pepper says Grady desperately needs a running mate, and I think we all thought Marlon would be it, even though Marlon isn't a lost cause yet, but the injury history is concerning at this point. Yeah, that's true. The injury history, as we had talked about, is very much concerning. But if he can get it together, he could make for an interesting running mate. I would like to see, Pennell or Anthony Rush make
Rush.
make it to the team this week would be a good week to see it.
Oh yeah.
Millie Mills says the third preseason game is done now. Time to get to work.
Wow.
That was good, Millie. That was good right there. He said, "Yeah, the third preseason."
He dead on.
No, I mean dead up. That's kind of the
Yeah.
especially after we ask ourselves what would have what would playing your starters done for you in the preseason. It may have made you more aware of this stuff earlier on. I don't know. It just really depends on how much you were going to play him. Like, you were never going to play Matt Ryan much, but I felt like you should have been playing the O-line more than you did. Like, you had a guys like Josh Andrews or Jalen Mayfield, but they were out there with guys who weren't going to be playing. And that was a concern there. So, all right. We definitely bumped up over an hour. We didn't spend a whole ton of, I don't know, we spent a good bit of time talking about Washington. I want to go around the room and kind of give, I ain't trying to do predictions or nothing like that, but I want some keys to success. What do you think? Give me one thing that you think if we do this, we'll win. If we do this, we'll lose. I'm going to start with Jimbo. What you got, bro?
If we let Logan Thomas, that tight end, we know 6'6", 250. He got 2 receiving touchdowns this year. Big guy. We've been having trouble guarding tight end this year in these 3 games. If we let him get loose, which he can, we can see ourselves losing this game. If we can bottle him up and hold him down, and which I think we can with that linebacker core, I'll take my linebacker core over their tight end group. But if we let Logan Thomas get loose, we can lose it. If we bottle him in there, we got a chance of finishing this, winning, getting us our second win in a row. That's what I'm hoping, and I'm watching that matchup right
Mike?
there.
Oh,
Toby?
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Go ahead,
I'm going to go with Mike.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Well, I'll just say this real quick. For me, it's real simple, man. If we utilize our tight ends against their linebackers, we will win. If we are able to use Hayden Hurst for once, Kyle Pitts, if we feed these guys, and we use that, because this is a team where I think our tight ends are better than the linebackers, right? If we can expose that, we win. Now, well, I'm just going to keep it right on the offensive side of the ball. If Matt Ryan comes out slow against an aggressive defense like this, we will absolutely lose and fall flat on our face. Toby D, what you got, baby?
I got 3 things I fully expect to happen on this passing game. I think this passing game has an opportunity to take off, and there's 3 things. Crossing routes, shallow and deep, should be able to work against this coverage. Bunch routes should work against this coverage that you're going to see, because they play a lot of man-to-man coverage, and you can really confuse them guys. Also, rub routes, which we haven't seen a lot of yet because of this coverage you're playing. Again, man-to-man coverage. You can run these rub routes, these pick routes, and really confuse that defense in that secondary. I expect to see that happening this week with everybody.
Right. No, yeah, I think that was something that I saw in that Buffalo game. They did a lot of that bunch sets and was able to get guys open, and that's something that Arthur Smith and Dave Ragone should definitely be taken note of. For me, I think if we can get the run game going, like the last 2 games, I think Matt Ryan's had to throw more than Arthur Smith necessarily wants to do. Like, he'll do it when he has to, but I don't think he wants to make bones off of doing it. So if we can finally get this run game, like what we saw in the first half of the Philly, if we can get that going, I think we have, because what that'll do is you'll finally get to play that ball control offense, that time of possession offense, and keep your defense fresh. I think if we can get this run game going, then I think that we will find ourselves on the winning side of this game. I'm looking at something like combined total, 150 yards, something like that. 150 yards, a couple rushing touchdowns type deal. If we can really start to especially let our offensive line fire off the ball at this aggressive defense, and really start hitting them in the mouth, then I think that's something that will bode well for us. Now, I will say this: if we, if we don't keep Matt Ryan upright, and I know this becomes such a cliche, but if early on in the game, if Chase Young is just, like wearing Matt Ryan like a cheap suit kind of deal, then I think that's going to, shake the confidence early, and we're going to be in for a long game. We're going to be in for, multiple picks maybe, because it's become, at least right now in the early goings of this season, it has become very apparent that, Matt Ryan definitely does not trust this offensive line yet. And so I need Caleb McGarry. I don't even care if it's a 15-yard personal foul penalty. I need Caleb McGarry to come out of his stance and just jack freaking whoever is in front of him. I don't care if it's Montez Sweat. I don't care if it's Chase Young. I need him coming up and just lay somebody out, pancake them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I don't care if it's a 15-yard penalty. Like Mike, you talked about earlier, like the defensive line setting the tone. I need this offensive line to set the tone.
Oh God, please.
You know what I'm saying? I need them to. Okay, y'all remember? I think it was The Longest Yard, maybe, or it was one of them football movies where the offensive line just came up swinging, like decked everybody and was body slamming and all. Like basically, they just dumped the whole defensive line and that's what I need to happen. I need that offensive line to let them know, all right, we're here and we're gonna have a fight and we're gonna do it all day.
I love to see that.
Boy, let's do it.
Please.
So that is definitely my go-to right there. But all right, well, we have bumped up well over an hour now. It's an hour and 6, and like I said, I'm in vacation mode. Gonna wrap it up. So next week we will be back in the normal swing of things. Appreciate y'all hanging with us. As always, can catch me on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128. That's GRIMM1128. Jimbo, why are you over here eating W's?
Hey,
that's all
that was
now.
Last time, Doc. Hey, you might be on something, Jimbo. Let's get back to that. We ate that W last week, and what we got.
Okay, all right then. All right, shoot. Hey, we'll do it. Just like the coach's beard, right? That was a game-winning beard. We'll keep eating W's as long as they do it, right?
Get me on Twitter at Jimmy Obama, JIMMYOBAMA, and I'm ready for Matt Ryan to start slinging the ball around. I miss it. Good God, I miss it. I got the jersey on. Let's go, Toby.
Hey, Toby D, 1991.
Hey, man.
Hey, Mike.
Follow your boy, man, Mike Duh, and Mike _DUB, man. And look, man, again, let's not trip over our own feet this week. Let's get it done. Whether we gotta eat it,
do whatever, right? Grill it. Pan sear it, I don't care. Just do it. All right, Falcons fans, we appreciate y'all joining us tonight. And as always, let's just win, guys.
Peace. Just win. Again, please. Be great.